What is up, beautiful people? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Auto Skin Detail. Give them a follow on Instagram, like a couple pictures, show them some love. Let's go.
Yo, I'm just happy to be here.
I challenge everybody that listens to this to get out of your shell and go do something new and fun.
Happy to be here.
Like they just slow motion.
Do you see Zach trying to pretend like he doesn't watch cake sitting videos?
Happy to be here.
There to exorcise the demons.
So your swan man is
Our Schwan delivery man that brought us bomb pops and chicken nuggets is there to perform an exorcism.
This needs to be made into a short
You
film.
couldn't make this shit up.
Yo, I'm just happy to be here.
What is up, beautiful people of the world? My name is ExZac Change, and I'm happy to be here today with my guest. Wait for it, Brennon Poynor.
Hello.
The man behind the scenes, the man who got me where I'm at right here with a Spokane sweater on. And this is real cozy too. I love it. This is like one of my favorite.
It's a nice crew neck sweater.
And I got it a size big, like too big, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those big, like it comes down on the arms, real fluffy.
You need like the long shirts. Like we've had like long swag, like where you like it's for tall guys because
Thank you.
The CEO is like a long guy.
All right.
He's tall. He's like 6'4", and like tall guys just don't get enough love for like if you get an extra large in like a regular size, it just like doesn't fit you well.
I mean, and then it's like if you're short and then you get some baggy clothes, it shrinks.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a win-win.
Exactly. So
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, I really do think everywhere you go, like if you go to Old Navy and get a shirt and you're a guy that's 6'4" like me, the bigger size you get, it just gets wider.
wider, yeah.
It doesn't get any longer.
Doesn't get longer, no. And once you wash it, it's like a crop top.
It really is like a crop top. I fucking hate that shit. That's what I've been dealing with my whole life. How tall are you?
I'm like 6'1".
6'1". Okay,
Yeah.
just average. Is that average height?
I mean, I actually think
tall?
me and my wife have talked about this a lot. Average height for a man is like 5'10".
Really?
And so like I feel like average height because like all like a lot of men in my life that are taller than me, but like most men are shorter than me. But like the guys I hang out with are all taller. So like it feels like I'm shorter, but I'm actually above average.
And what if what is average height? Like we're doing average height of like the world? Because then there's full countries with just short people. Then there's throwing the average off.
No, I think it's America.
Okay, it's America.
I think 5'10" is probably an average height for America.
Huh.
Without getting into
Everybody I know is 6'1". I don't know what.
Everyone's 6'1".
I don't know what that means, but everybody's 6'1".
Oh, you're 6'4", so I mean, being tall. Like, did you play basketball in high school?
And no, but I got I got asked if I played basketball in high school a lot. Like, people really like to ask tall people if they play basketball.
But you like so you went to high school out in like Deer Park, right?
No, so what I did, I went to high school out in Bremerton.
Oh, okay.
And then, but I just never went to high school.
You
I was just skipping school and being a bad kid. So then I got literally shipped. This
like
is
in a container?
Like shipped, pretty much like against your will, like shipped is like, you didn't ask for this. I got shipped to Deer Park. And yeah, dude, I don't know. I felt like I was running it out there because there wasn't a lot of like, it felt like basketball wasn't really like the main sport out in Deer Park. So I kind of felt like I was shining. I was kind of coming from like more of a city atmosphere, harder like competition. And then going over there, I was kind of like, hey, what's up?
You're like big fish, little pond.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
Yeah, for sure. Like
They made me feel like I could do big things in the NBA or something. And then of course, no.
Your rivals were like Riverside though. Like they were good in basketball.
Dude, there was some I know that there was some teams that we played like some like native teams like down in like Wapato and some of these crazy places, man, and these motherfuckers were like mean with it. Fucking throwing bows and fucking, and they were good as shit, dude, and they were fast, and man, there's some unsuspected fucking killers out here. I've never played at Hoopfest before. How many years have you played?
Oh man, it's been so on and off over the years. Like my brothers have all played. They're ballers and they played in high school. I never played in high school. I was a cross country runner, but like my brothers played for 20 plus years. I've played off and on for I played in 12 Hoopfests.
12 Hoopfest.
yeah.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 2.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
yeah. But
have you done like a team with your brothers?
I've done 1 year where I played with my brothers, a family bracket. My brothers are my brother played collegiately. My other brother was a scrappy basketball player, and my dad, who was just out of shape. And so it was just basically my brothers and I. But we're going to play a family league. And my brothers have both won probably 12 Hoopfest between each other.
Damn.
And my other brother, my middle brother, he plays an elite when he plays. And we're we're going to win. We're going to win the family bracket. We got in the family bracket, and my brothers just couldn't play together for one, because they just did. And then, and I couldn't help it. My dad had to my dad probably played 6 minutes the entire Hoopfest.
So it was like your brothers were are really good, but just weren't playing well together.
Not well together. They ball hogs, and yeah, if they listen to this, they'll probably text me and be like, "You're a liar. We play well together." I'm like, "No, you guys did not play well together." And, that's why we lost.
Ball hogs.
I'll blame it on my brothers.
No, man.
Thanks, Jordan and Evan.
So when is Hoopfest? Is that the end of June or the beginning of July?
It typically should be in the next, right now it's second week in June, so it should be in 2 weeks. But this year, because of COVID, it's September 11th and 12th.
It's September?
Yeah, they moved it back.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I thought it was coming right around the corner.
It's
I thought we were about
not-
to get it.
Not this year.
So, but because it's pushed to September, hopefully it'll be kind of just like a normal Hoopfest.
Hopefully. That's the plan, right?
Because, dude, it is such a wild time. I'm thinking back to, I think it was 2 years ago, I did a Hoopfest. Nick Lewis from Kingsley and Scout. I did one with him at the Saranac outside during Hoopfest. We're doing it, and the streets were picking up, and people, and I think that had to be 2019. So that was the last.
That's
Hoopfest.
the last Hoopfest. Yeah.
And
last year was virtual. And
what a time, dude!
Oh my gosh.
There was a virtual Hoopfest.
Yeah, it was weird. They did some. You could do some drills and submit your drills on a video thing, and you could get a shirt.
I mean, you can't just let it die. I guess you
just
gotta.
can't. Yeah. Well, yeah. And it was. Last year's rough. Hoopfest is brings so much money into Spokane, and they were just trying. They're trying to do something for the city and make something work. But yeah, no, everything kind of got canceled last year and this year. We're in a Bloomsday shirt. Bloomsday is not going to happen again until 2022. So
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, man. Well, you got to keep people safe.
Yeah.
When did Hoopfest start here? Is this something that's just it's just crazy that Spokane, Washington, out of all places in the world, would be that such a huge hub for basketball.
Gosh, I don't know if it started in 1991 or 1990.
Damn.
So this could be the 40th. This could be the 40th Hoopfest. Not the 40th. That's not the right number. 30th Hoopfest. But yeah, it's been around for forever. It started, on the streets of Spokane downtown, and it's just grown. I mean, it's literally the biggest 3-on-3 basketball tournament, outside basketball tournament in the world.
Do you know, is there a person that invented Hoopfest, or was it just a community thing that kind of just built into?
I should know a lot more. I actually interned at Hoopfest in 2009.
Really?
Yeah, I did some graphic design for them and worked for them for a year. And I did the 20th Hoopfest. So it was a big year. And so yeah, 10 years. I don't know how long ago, almost 10 years ago. And,
Right. So if that was the 20th Hoopfest, that means 10 years after that would have been the 30th.
2009. That's when it was. So 2009 was when I did that. So 2019 would have been the 30th. So this is the 32nd, I guess.
So that would have been 1990.
1990, yeah. That 1990, that sounds right.
Or wait, no, that was
89? I don't know. Who knows? It's been a while.
Wait.
I could look it up on my phone and I can tell you, but
if 2009
yes,
was 10 years,
yes,
then it's 1999.
20 years. So
Oh,
it was
20 years.
It was 20 years. Yeah.
So 89.
It was an XX. I remember the logo. It was an XX, so it was 20 years.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so 89 is when it started, dude. Just
89,
a
yeah.
bunch of bunch of dudes with long socks and short shorts probably started that shit.
Yeah, a bunch of guys emulating John Stockton.
Bunch of John Stockton's out there, dude. Damn, shout
Right.
out to the GOAT, dude.
And
I saw that Adam just had him on the podcast, dude, on his podcast. I thought that was pretty tight.
It was to be a part to be in the room and listen to their conversation was unreal. Like
Really?
it's I mean to see John Stockton come in and like just kind of I mean he was a little reserved obviously, but like he was sharing stuff that like I don't think he probably shared that much like in to the public. Yeah.
That's cool. It's cool to see people in a podcast sense, especially. I know sometimes in the beginning people kind of like tight and kind of, you know, probably more reserved. But then when you kind of break that barrier down and you see somebody in a podcast situation where they're having fun,
Yeah.
and they start kind of telling stories, God, that's got to be, especially somebody like that who, God, I was watching John Stockton play the Bulls in fucking 1998 or whatever. You know, that was just. It's crazy to see things full circle that, you know, he was in this building.
Yeah, he was in this building, right?
Fucking crazy,
In
man.
the studio next to us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how has it been working on Adam's podcast?
Adam's podcast has been it's why I got into podcasting. Like I mean, my story of getting into podcasting has been 5-6 years of producing podcasts, and I never thought I would get to the level of what I'm doing with Adam, but but it's a dream. It's a dream come true, really. Like, I mean, I'm making a podcast that is getting a ton of listens, views, and people actually really enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's why I've always wanted to get into podcasting, and why I started it. You know, started doing it with a buddy 6 years ago.
Yeah, because you wanted to get something that was going to kind of, you know, catch.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done that a couple times with a couple podcasts, but like helping produce Adam's podcast, I really feel like I'm making something that people are coming to and want to come to on a weekly basis, because, you know, making a podcast, you always want to have content that's like generating a little buzz, and people are like really like, you want to be on the day your podcast comes out, you want people to look at their phone and be like, oh, sweet, happy to be here, has another episode out. I want to listen to that. And whether it's 100 people, whether it's 25 people, 1,000 people, like it's awesome just to like hear that from someone. Like, I'm excited to hear your podcast come out.
Yeah, that is. And when it's getting big and it's moving and stuff like that, that's got to be exciting too. And
Yeah.
Where did it all start for you? Was it Spocast? Was that the first one, or was there?
No, I have an OG podcast that I still produce to this day with a buddy. We do it remotely. He's in San Francisco. My buddy Adam Pitzler. We actually, the year my twins were born, 2015, me and him decided we should start a fantasy football podcast, because there wasn't enough fantasy football podcasts. And for those who don't know, there's like probably, I don't know, fantasy football podcasts are a dime a dozen. There's probably 1,000 of them, probably 1,000 plus. Like, it could be in its own podcast category. And we decided we should do our fantasy football podcast. And after 2 years of doing it, we probably would get like 20 listens a show. And you realize, like, no one's listening to this, because once a week goes by in the NFL, no one's going to listen to that last episode. It's not evergreen content.
Yep.
And so we're like, what do we do to make a podcast that's like people will come back and listen to if it had been out for 4 years? And we're like, what do we love? And we're like, we did some brainstorming. And we're like, well, we were both born in the 90s. We both love movies from the 90s, video games from the 90s, and TV shows from the 90s. And we decided to do a 90s nostalgia podcast. And so every week, well, not every week, it's kind of more bi-weekly, every two weeks, it's called Super 90s Brothers. And we just do topics on.
That's your podcast? I didn't fucking know that, dude. I just know that I was like, dude, that is a dope name. And I love the logo too.
Yeah. And so we started that that's about 4 years ago when we started making that. It's been off and on for about 4 years. We have about 60 episodes that we've done together. And we just come every week with a new episode.
And that's not visual, it's just an audio podcast?
That's just audio, yeah.
Sick, dude. And that's
no, but it should be a video, because, like, I mean, talking about video games or movies, like, we just started implementing like clips and like sound bites into it and make it a little bit more interactive. But it's been the journey of making that podcast has been a growing experience. And like, you can totally track like my podcasting, like journey from like, hobbyist to semi-pro on that podcast. Cause it goes from being like a call-in show. Like we literally we had an app on our phones that would just record our phone conversation. And then it sounded like we're two guys like on a string, talking to each other, a can on the string. And now we're doing it more professionally. We're still remote. And so it's still, the quality's not as great, but like we did a couple of podcasts a couple of weeks ago, in person, and that was fun. So
he came up here? Or?
Yeah, he came up here for like he's from here originally, and he came up here and we did a couple podcasts together. We did an episode on Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, the first one, and then we did one on Mario Kart, like Super Mario Kart on the SNES, and then Mario Kart 64.
So do you guys take one topic and then just like the whole podcast is about that one thing?
Yep, that's it. It's not, we're not given a history of it. So when you listen to it, if you check it out, like it's a nostalgia trip. Like we're literally talking about what we remember about the game. Like how do we, like what were our favorite things about it? Like, and it's like, sometimes it's hazy memories. Like sometimes you don't remember things that well and you're like, we might misreference things, but that's what it's about. It's about like remembering your childhood.
I'm like all about the nostalgia, and I follow a bunch of nostalgia like pages on Instagram and shit like that with old Ninja Turtle action figures and all the I'm just huge on that feeling that you used to have when you would watch something like that. When you were a kid and you would watch a movie, or you would, get your hand on a new toy or something like that. And it's like the world's so different now. Like those things, like even like a CD it doesn't hold as much weight as it used to.
That's so true. You're a 90s kid, right?
I was born in 86.
86. Okay, I'm 84. So like, you remember the 90s pretty well then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what was your 90s? Like, was it Ninja Turtles?
So dude, I mean, we had Ninja Turtles, definitely. Like early 90s was like the Ninja Turtles cartoon, the Ninja Turtle action figures. Yeah. I was big with the action figures. So those I remember I wanted the car, like the van that you could buy, but my mom would never get it for me. I wish I could get that. So yeah, Ninja Turtles and then G.I. Joes and shit like that. The bubble bath, bro. I'd get the G.I. Joes with the suds and shit. Wow, build like a fortress and shit. Like, dude, I mean, it just doesn't get better than those simple times.
It doesn't. What did you play? Did you have a Nintendo?
So I had a Nintendo. I remember having a regular Nintendo. Yeah. I don't remember ever getting the regular Nintendo. I think that maybe like my older brother had a regular Nintendo, and that's what I called it. I called it a regular. Ever since the Super Nintendo came out, I called it a regular Nintendo.
That makes sense, yeah.
But I had that, and I remember getting those too. And the thing is that you would go to Safeway or Fred Meyer or some shit, and you could rent NES games.
Yeah.
And dude, like the picture on the front of the NES game would just be this fucking art. Would just be like it would just be like the sickest art ever. And then you would get the game, and it's just like doing, 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 doing.
Oh my gosh, I totally like my best story of So Jurassic Park was like big in 94 or whatever, and Jurassic Park came out on NES and Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo version was amazing. But the NES version was awful.
Oh yeah.
And you'd get the NES version and you'd be like, oh, this is so disappointing. This is not Jurassic Park.
when you have Super Nintendo, you go back. The thing is that when it's funny how the perspective is when you don't have anything to compare it to. So when we just had NES, it was like, I remember my brother had this like baseball game that and Madden and shit, and like the shittiest like graphics ever, but I'll be just so into it. I could have one of those little handheld things. Remember you get those handheld like little games with the little buttons on them.
Oh my gosh, shit. Like the I forget what they're called, but I know you're talking about. Like they're just like it's like black and white. Yeah,
it's just like black and white. And I had the Game Boy that was just like, I mean, it's not even black and white. It's like black and green.
Yeah,
it's like got that green background. It's just that big chunky, kind of gray. with the purple button or the maroon buttons.
Yeah, I never had a Game Boy. My parents, I asked for a Game Boy for Christmas one year, and they got me a fucking Game Gear, and Game Gear was Sega, and it was in color, and my parents were probably being like, get him the color one. It's a lot cooler. But I wanted a fucking Game Boy. I wanted a Nintendo.
Or maybe they were like, what is that thing fucking called? Game Boy?
Game Boy Gear? Who knows? Yeah, let's get the color one. It's cooler looking.
They're like, yeah, exactly. And dude, I mean, that thing saved me though, man. Like when I had to go do boring things and I was able to like have my, have that shit with me. What did you have any game that you remember playing as a kid?
As a kid, like I got the Game Gear when I was that was like 90, I don't know what it was, but like Game Gear, and I had X-Men and I had like Sonic.
Oh yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear. And I remember just playing that all the time.
Dude, Sonic was just huge. I just thought Sonic was so cool. And that was another thing about, it's crazy to think now with like these different consoles, and like every console had its own like franchise games.
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo had Mario, Sega had Sonic. Like it was just, that's like what I thought Sonic was so cool. I used to watch the show.
Yeah.
I used to play that game all the time. Tails and Knuckles and dude, I love that.
I did not have a Sega. I had a friend who had a Sega, and that's how you did in the 90s.
Me too. I never had a Sega.
You had a friend that had a Sega. You'd go over to their house and you play Sega. And you play Sonic, and you play. I remember playing Road Rash.
Oh yeah, I played a lot of Road Rash.
And what I remember, I don't remember what else I played on the Sega.
So
but
would you start out with? You had an NES.
I got it. I remember I got an NES for Christmas in 1988. So I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Just before I turned 5, and I got that, and I just became a Nintendo kid for life. Like I didn't get a Super Nintendo until like 96.
I remember getting the Super Nintendo, and that I can still remember where I was at, what the living room looked like, everything, opening it up, being the best day of my life. But then like having to, my parents like, oh, well, we're not going to set that up yet.
What?
Like you got it,
but we're not gonna put it on the TV.
But like we'll get it going. But like chill out. Like we'll have lunch and and I'm just like, dude, I got a fucking Super Nintendo.
Did you get it for like your birthday?
This was Christmas.
Oh, Christmas! Oh my gosh, you had to wait an entire like afternoon.
It was like an afternoon, dude. It was just like we got to go to brunch. We got to whatever. But I remember that, like, dude, the Super Nintendo was the best thing ever. Super Mario World.
Yes.
I think that came with it. And man, I fucking still love that game.
Yeah, best. I mean, in my opinion, best video game system ever. Like I go back. I went back like last week because like there's a handful of Super Nintendo games on this Nintendo Switch, and I played like Dixie Kong, like Donkey Kong 3 basically.
Yep.
And I played that, and I beat it in like a day and a half, and off and on, and I was just like, this is so nostalgic. Like,
I wish they would get more on that library.
I wish they would too.
But my buddy did get me a Raspberry Pi.
Oh yeah, with like, and got all the ROMs.
I broke it, but I had everything. I had all the Super Nintendo games, which was, I remember playing Super Mario All Stars. So like you would play that. And that would get you Mario 1, 2, and 3 on NES.
Yeah.
And you would be able to replay that. So it was like nostalgia. It's like it's like a gateway nostalgia.
For sure. I had a ROM on the Xbox, and it's fun to play. I think the nostalgia is in the controller, in my opinion. Like
so much.
And like Nintendo released like these you can connect them to your Switch. Like they're old school controllers that just connect right to the Switch. It's like I got a Super Nintendo controller for my Switch, and it's just, there's nothing like playing a Super Nintendo game with an actual Super Nintendo controller made by Nintendo. Like I like ROMs, they're good to do, but like I love having the original, like the stuff that's made by
Does Nintendo not have like a Super Nintendo world?
They do in Japan.
That's where the fuck we need to go, dude.
God, I want to go to Tokyo. So like that's like number one stop there, in like Korea,
Really?
South Korea. I want to do a trip someday. Like go to Tokyo, go to South Korea, like do a little like 3-week adventure in the South Pacific.
Well, dude, now I definitely want to go because Super Mario World will be dope, dude.
It's gonna come to America eventually. It has to.
How have they not brought it? They're probably like not letting it come to America. They're like, fuck that. You got to come here. You got to give us your money if you want to come see Super Mario World.
Nintendo's so protective over everything. So
I know that's why their games that are 5 years, 6 years old are still $60.
Yeah, that's true.
But did you play Zelda?
Well, yes. I played Zelda. My firstborn son is named Link.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, then.
So, I mean, my firstborn kids were twins. I have a boy-girl twins. Me and my wife, I told my wife when I was like 18 years old, I'm naming my son Link, and at the time she had no idea what I was talking about. And she's like, I like that name, Link. I like the name Link. I'm like, yeah, me too. It's a good name. And didn't tell her anything about it. Probably like maybe a year or so later, we were still talking about names. I'm like, you still like the name Link? She's like, yeah. I'm like, it's named after a video game character. And she's like, yeah, I still like it. So we.
That is awesome.
And so I guess like we had our twins about 12 years after we got married, and after we met, and Link still stuck. And
that's awesome, dude.
Link is Link.
Wow. And what's your daughter's name?
Ivy.
Now, did she picked that name?
Ivy we did not have girls' names. We couldn't come up with with a good girl's name that we like really like.
So you chose Uma Thurman's character in Batman?
Yeah, Poison. Well, that's her. Well, what's funny is we have we come up with rapping names. This is actually kind of perfect. We drive. So one of our big things, we love BTS, and so there in BTS there's RM, there's Suga, and then there's J-Hope, and they're like, what is our rapping names? And I'm like, well, my rapping name is B Money. Mom's rapping name is Abba Zaba, and then what are yours names? And we were like, Link's initials are LP, and like, oh, yours could be LP. That's a good rapping name. And then we're like, and then I figured it out. His rapping name is Hyperlink because it has a little bit of and then she is Poison Ivy. So she decided that. So
she thought of that one.
She thought of that herself, but she knows like Batman and that stuff, but like she still came up with it herself. And I said, I don't know, if you ever become a rapper, you might hit some legal problems.
Yeah, maybe. I really like the hyperlink too, though. That's a really good one.
And he's hyper.
Yeah, me too, dude. I got the ADHDs, man.
Man,
I'll be just bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how I'm able to smoke so much weed and have this podcast going on right now, bro.
Right?
It just keeps me level-headed. But yeah, man. So what about talk to me about Spokecast? I think that was like the first time I had ever seen I'd ever seen you before was Spokecamp be running and Spokecast.
Spokecast, yeah. So Spokecast happened. That was right when I was podcasting a lot with my friend Adam, like I was talking about doing Super 90s Brothers, and I was like, I went to a convention for like marketing because that's what I used to do. I did marketing for a local agency, and I went to this marketing convention, and they talked a lot about podcasting and using podcasting as a way to like make money for businesses or whatever. And I was like, I need to figure out how to do podcasting in person. Like I've been doing remote podcasts for like 3 years now. I need to do this legit. I need to buy the equipment. I need to, just do it and find a podcast to produce locally. And so, my friends Nate and Andrea Williams and Nate Martin. Nate me and him had been talking about starting a podcast or doing something together. And I met with him one day, and he's like, I want to do this podcast that we feature people in Spokane doing cool things. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I don't think that exists in Spokane. Like, no one's in Spokane is like doing a podcast about people in Spokane. I'm like, let's do it. Like, what's the name? And we're like, kind of coming up with names, and I'm like, it's Spokecast. Like, that's the name of the show. Like it's Beaucast. Like it's Spokane plus podcast.
Yeah.
And so I think we came up with that together. And then we brought on Andrea like that same day. Or in the meeting, we're like, if we want to get guests on the show, we need to get Andrea because she knows everyone in Spokane. Got Andrea involved, and then the rest is pretty much history. We got on our first episode, we had Ginger Ewing and Luke Baumgarten come on. They're really heavily involved in terrain. Had them on. Next episode, we had Carly Ingersoll, who her and her husband started Lucky You Lounge, and I think the streak on our show was like every episode Lucky You Lounge was mentioned because it's just a dope spot. And and we just started featuring people in Spokane, and it kind of hit a nerve with people, and people started listening regularly. And it was a small, like it was a local following, but it was like I felt like I was doing something really cool for the community. Like we're really featuring people that are doing cool shit in Spokane. And that was the main focus of the show. And then COVID fucking happened. Like, and everything kind of like went up in flames. And so in 2020, we had won the best of podcasts of the Inlander thing. And like, that was like that, but that was like really the last big thing that ever happened for the show. And we did a couple more episodes during COVID, but like, we all got so busy, and I started doing all this stuff, and it just like kind of had to end. But
and I mean, I think that it was just exactly what Spokane needed, and that's exactly where my mind was when I was starting a podcast. It was the same thing. It was like, man, there's people here that are doing cool things. I know that this place gets a bad rap here and there for this and that, and so that's why I wanted to highlight the really cool things. So that's why when I saw you guys, I was like, holy shit, there is a podcast here that is doing this.
Yeah, I got a funny story to tell you, because I was like, when so you started your podcast in like early 2020, right?
So I started my podcast, I think it was like June 4th, 2019.
Oh, so you started it before Spokecast.
Did I?
You did. No, you started Spokecast before you started Spokecast. You started Happy to Be Here before Spokecast ever existed. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, dude, we've been just running. I mean, we did it like just out of the living room. Yeah. And the first thing that I did was I got every friend that I could think of that has done anything cool ever. And I was like, just be a guest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Until I ran out of friends and was like, okay, I think I kind of know what I'm doing. And then I start reaching out.
That's awesome. I didn't realize I thought you started in 2020. I remember finding your podcast. So there was this thing I would do. I would try to find podcasts about Spokane. And I became like envious, or I became like, oh, they're trying to take over our territory. And then like, and I was like, fuck them. But then I was just like, then it became like, then COVID happened, and I mean, it was just, and now I realize that like for podcasts, like there's no reason why 50 different podcasts about Spokane can't exist, because everyone's coming at a different perspective. Like,
and I think people are listening for different reasons. Like, you know, my podcast, I just want to give it a variety of comedy and seriousness. Like, you know, we had God Feedy on the podcast, and that was such a real fucking.
That was I mean, I just got to sit in on that podcast, and that was that was a great show.
dude, he's an testament to fucking just anything. Like, you can do anything that you put your mind to.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
And it wasn't a funny fucking podcast.
No, it was not at all. Yeah.
Usually we're goofing around, and you know, so that's kind of what I like, is that, you know, you don't know what you're going to get, you know, but you know that you're going to either learn something, you're going to, you know, get some real emotion, or you're going to be smiling, laughing, having fun.
Yeah.
So, dude, I don't know. Podcasting is, I feel like it's a necessary it's almost this new therapy.
Yeah. No, it really is. So I got to know, I have to know about, you probably have talked about it on the show, and I just never heard it, but like, why did you start Happy to Be Here? Well, like what, like, I mean, you're a rapper. You've been in Spokane forever, right? And what made you like decide like I'm going to start a podcast?
Oh Jesus! So this is gonna be like the worst answer ever, but it's gonna be the most predictable, typical answer from somebody like me right now. But I was listening to Joe Rogan.
Okay. I love it.
So I was working at AT&T and I was just cruising around. I just drove all day, and so I was just listening. I'd found podcasts. I'd never even. I was like, a fucking podcast, it's boring. Like who would listen to that, right? And then I was driving around and I'm like, I would see that, because Joe Rogan would have like these just really, obviously real popular people on that you're like, oh shit, like that'd be cool to like listen to that person.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard that person. And, and a podcast seemed like something a little bit more intimate rather than like an MSNBC interview or something like that. Like it seems like you could really get someone's true character in a podcast. So like listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, I was just listening, really. I wouldn't watch any podcasts. I would just be driving around. I'd just be listening to these podcasts. And then I started diving into the other ones where it would be like health people and it was just informational, funny. I would be learning about new people. I could find somebody that had a little bit of an interest in, and I could learn a lot more. So I just thought like the same thought that you had. Yeah. Like nobody's doing this right here, and finding the people. Like me being able to handpick the coolest people that I think need to be heard, and being able to showcase them. To Spokane, especially since like you said, I've already been rapping and doing all that, so I also needed something kind of different that I hadn't been doing. And I'm a talker, so I was just like, I was listening to Joe Rogan, like, dude, I could do this. Like, Joe Rogan's always like, I'm an idiot. It's like, I'm an idiot. Like, I don't know shit. I'll just bring smart people on, and they can school me, right? And then everybody else can listen, or we can goof around, and that's like what I'm good at. So that's what made me want to start a podcast. And dude, this is like episode 70 or some shit. So it's like,
it's cool to be a part of and watch and see the different. They see the difference between your squad cast and the difference between like your guests. Like it is a lot of fun to watch, and I'm happy to be back, like being a part of like each episode, because it's fun to sit in on, because like you guys have, you, Cody, and like have definitely rapport with like your guests, and it is fun. And I'm amazed because like any podcast that I ever do, I come in with notes. Like for Adam's podcast, like I'll prepare a flow for him. Like for my podcast with my wife, I do like we have like a list of stuff. Like I have show notes for Super 90s Brothers that we have like each piece like where this is the way we're going. But for you don't do any. You don't have any of that. You don't got a piece of paper in front of you or anything. And I think, what I'm trying to say is like you do it, and it always flows.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of was the idea, is that me personally, I work really well on just let's just have a conversation.
Right.
Like, I don't want the people listening to even get any feeling that this is not scripted, but just like even directional. Like I'm trying to sound a certain way. Like I really just want to be myself, which I hope will bring my guests to just be 100% authentically themselves. So that way you're getting a real fly on the wall conversation, and not like, oh, we're buttering up this episode. We're acting this certain way, trying to put on a show for you. Yeah. Like I feel like a podcast is somewhere where you can really get the raw. Like we don't like, you know what I mean? This is all just raw vocals just in your ear right now.
Yeah, it is an art to be able to do that. So I commend you on that, because like the podcast that I've done, like I've tried it a couple times, and anytime I've done it, like they've turned out well, but like I always feel like I need to have that crutch. I always need to have those notes in front of me. Like, I did a smaller pod. When I started at Speak, I did Speak Spokane, which was it was my personal version of Spokecast.
Yeah.
Which Nate and Andrew are gonna kill me for saying that, because like they know that I was like, because I Spokecast was not happening, and I wanted to keep on doing a podcast about Spokane, and I got to interview Jess Walter. He's a local author, and he's written a couple of New York Times bestsellers, and it was like a big get. But like I was just like, I want to make this casual, but I also want to make sure I'm prepared. But I don't know much about him, so I had like my sister-in-law give me notes. Like, what kind of questions should I ask him about his book? Because I've never really read a book by Jess Walter. Probably shouldn't be admitting this, but I was just like, give me some notes, and I got him, and it went well. But like at the same time, like I wish I would have known more about him.
Yeah, I do feel like you need to, like, if you're going to have somebody like that on a podcast, like you really should consume their
100%.
art. Like, honestly, I do feel like you shouldn't even have them on the podcast if you're not going to consume their art.
Yeah.
Like if somebody wrote a book, like you'd have to read that whole book.
Yeah, for sure.
And then have them on the podcast. Or like, when I have people like Blake Braley on or somebody like that,
you
right?
gotta like, get in their music.
I get deep into it, man. I try to go as far back as I can. I try to Google, I get on Bandcamp. I try to find any YouTube live performance and really like, especially the day before. So I'm really loaded up on that. Like, I love the guest, man. Like when there's a guest that's just truly intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to hand pick the guests, because it's like people send me requests every day to be on the podcast.
Yeah,
dude, let me get on the podcast. Da, 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 da. And I just like if it doesn't like reach out to me, like speak to me to where I'm just like, dude, other people need to know, then I can't do it. And and that I feel like that creates a truly authentic conversation.
I love that. I love that because like when I've ever made podcasts, like whenever I've done my shows, like I've always wanted to like interview people that I'm truly interested in. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I wish I could be better at that in some aspects. And I mean, whenever I do, like for Adam's show, like I get into these guests, like I've researched them heavily, and it's fun to get into. Like you really
just boosts the intrigue.
It really does. Like so Adam really wanted to have this guy on the show, DJ Ski, and DJ Ski is like he's produced mixtapes for The Game. Man, I'm losing my train of thought right now. But and I was like, okay, like we're gonna have DJ Ski on. That's cool. I guess I will learn about DJ Ski. I went into like a deep dive of DJ Ski to kind of find out about who he was, and this guy, like he moved from Minneapolis to LA to help with a marketing company and help launch the T-Mobile Sidekick, and then also was producing stuff for The Game. He did 300 Bars for him, like the diss track to I forgot what to 50 Cent. Sorry. And anyways, and so I got to deep dive into this guy and learn all about him. And I'm like, because Adam's telling me like this guy's a big deal. I'm like, okay, he sounds cool. This guy's like a self-made, like just amazing human being. Like he's a sneakerhead. He loves playing cards. Like he loves like collector's cards, and like, but he really came from moving from Minneapolis to LA to like start producing music for The Game and Nipsey Hussle and people like that. And like, it was just a crazy story to hear. And like,
it is just crazy when you see people that found success in it.
Yeah.
Because it seems just like such a crazy risk.
Yeah.
And then when you see people like that just fucking rose up.
Yeah, they did.
You know, and LA is just, I feel like I've never even been to LA. I've never even been to California, but LA just seems like such a rough fucking, just like a rough city to try to make it in.
Yo, I mean,
like everybody's trying to make
for sure.
it.
Yeah, everyone's trying to make it there. Like actors, musicians, who you name it. Like it's a fucking grind there, I imagine.
Oh my god, dude! I just try to imagine what it would be like to try to.
Have you ever thought of that? Like, did you ever get to a point in your career where you're like, I need to probably leave Spokane if I want to like take my rapping career to another level?
So like, Riker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she told me and Mike, she told us that like, she's like, you've done everything that you guys can do here.
Yeah.
Like if you want to be successful, you have to leave.
Yeah.
So I know that was true. But I'm all about just following my heart and my gut and stuff. And I'll be honest, like I've thought about moving to different places and leaving and doing stuff like that. And I feel like we could find success in other places, but this place is just so damn beautiful. And it's so amazing, man.
Yeah.
Like I live up in a house, you know, I don't pay that much for it compared to what you would pay like on the west side or in a lot of other places. There's a fucking river with waterfalls through the middle of my city. Like you would only wish to move somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Where it is fucking, excuse my language, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Especially around this time of year.
Yeah.
We're talking, you know, fucking little bit of rain, and then the sun comes out, and then rainbows, waterfall, like everything that you would see, like in the most beautiful places to live.
It's beautiful, and at the same time, like your music's amazing. Like so when you started podcasting here, I was like, well, I need to probably listen to some of his stuff, and so I listened to a couple of your tracks, and I was like, especially stuff that you did with John, and I was like, man, this is. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's produced locally. And I was like, this is really, really good music. And I was like, why aren't more people listening to this?
Yeah, and that's kind of like we were saying before with like even an album, right? Like how an album used to really mean something. Like if you got your hands on an album, you know, it was like you were going to listen to that, you're going to put it in. You know, you still might skip around a little bit, but really you're going to consume the album.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's just like, an album is, you know, you give somebody an album and it'll just remain in the wrapper forever. You know, it's just more of kind of just a trinket or like just a little. Did you
ever do that downtown Spokane? Did you?
Oh yeah, handing out CDs.
Handing out CDs,
dude. We were doing them for free. We were just running up on people like, oh man, just like we stole these beats. You know, like when we were young, we were just taking fucking just beats from the internet and ripping them off, and then just like rapping to them and just like selling to people like we can rap like this, or giving them away for free. I mean, like we can rap. And I've always thought that was weird because when you're an artist, you know, it just seems big-headed to try to like, come on, listen to me, check me, like, yo, look, you know, it just like you wish that you had like a team of people or another person that was doing that for you. Like, listen to Zach, like he's really good, check it out, rather than, you know, being the guy that's just like, yo, I'm the shit. Like, and I know that's how rap was, but I've never been like that. Like, that's how rap has always kind of been like, you know, what's rap battle? You know, oh, I'm better than you. Oh, we got to talk shit. I'm stunting. I'm the shit. Like, and I've always been like, dude, I can use this to, you know, put across a message that will rewire the way people think, or it'll maybe just open their eyes to a different perspective or get people to be like, oh, cool. Like, I just wanted to really, you know, like have a real message in my lyrics and stuff like that. And that I feel like is just not the most popular like lane, right? Like being flashy, crazy, and having nutty hair with fucking tats and fucking and having look at crazy vibe, you know what I mean? Like just being nut, like, you know what I mean? That's literally what it takes to just like, you know, it seems like. So, you know, I figured that I didn't want to lose myself chasing being fame, like trying to find success in music.
Right.
I just wanted to make tight music. Yeah. And I feel like the people will respect it, and the things that we've made will go down as classics in this community. Yeah. And that's cool with me. Yeah. And if we ever make something that goes bigger, that's cool. And the same thing with this podcast, man. Like, I appreciate everybody that listens to it, but it's like, if nothing ever happens with this is I'll still be doing this because this is so much fun to me. And that's why I tell my wife, and I tell my friends, family, anyone who listens to podcasts, like, podcasts are so, it's freaking eternal. Like, I'm gonna put this out there, and I'm in 20 years, if the link's not dead, which it could be, but my kids can listen to it. Like, my kids can listen to do a podcast, and like, and that's how it is with just with everything. Like, even just like, I mean, it's an audio tattoo in a way, you know, it's, you know, and that's how like music video is. That's what we think about that too. And like a music video, I think is probably the coolest thing that I've ever been able to help like create. you know, the ability to do a music video, to kind of like make the music, but then be able to like create the visual,
The art behind
the
it,
movie,
to
the
movie
video.
too, yeah. That's cool.
That to me is just the funnest thing. Like if I was a kid, but I knew what I knew now, and they were like, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I'd be like, "I want to make music videos," because that's the coolest shit.
I remember MTV. That was my life when I got home from
Just watching.
I watched so much MTV. I also watched that one channel that like it was like continuous. It was like continuous music videos, and you could. I don't know if it was a call in, but you could like basically pay to get a video played. Do you remember that?
Was it The Box?
It was a box. It was something weird.
Yeah, because I remember there was this one called The Box, and that was like the alternative to MTV. Yeah, and you could like submit.
But it was just like straight music videos.
Yeah, all the time.
all the time.
And anytime like MTV would go to a commercial, I'd go over to that other one.
Yeah.
It was like channel 99. 'Cause, you know what I mean? If this was before cable had like a cable box, you would just go channel 2 for like you would just flip through the channels.
Yes.
Remember that shit?
Oh God, I remember
no
that.
guide.
No guide.
These kids don't understand.
They don't understand.
No guide.
What was your early entry to like rap? Like, what did you get into?
Oh, dude, it was I think it was so like rap music when I was a kid. So before I had even gotten into anything bad, when I was in 9th grade, it was just all like the mainstream stuff. So it was like Nelly and Ja Rule and Ashanti and
Ja Rule and oh my God,
you know,
oh,
Ashanti.
I go back to Ja Rule and Ashanti so much. Like this for me and my wife. Like it is like it's just fun to listen to.
And so what was that? That was that high school? Was that senior year for you? Is this
that would have been
sophomore?
That would have been like junior year because but all of I was like the biggest R&B nerd.
Really?
When I was like my first album that I owned was Janet, what the one with her boobs on the album, I think it was just Janet.
I can't remember.
But I mean that was like I listened to R&B, like R&B was like my jam throughout high school, like junior high school. Like I was just like, it was all like
I think it was at the
TLC,
Usher,
like Usher. Oh my God, Usher. That was junior high.
The Confessions,
like that. Yeah, like his first album was like it changed my life. Like I listened to, like I'm such a big R&B. Like Summer Walker now to me, like her, like
I haven't really listened to Summer Walker.
Like Summer Walker has a track with Usher that's like basically a continuation of one of his early tracks. I forget which one it was, but it's just I don't know. I just like I love R&B, like, and that's what hit me when I was a kid, like with Janet Jackson. Like I love Janet Jackson, and I loved early. Like, and then I got into like not like you said, like Nelly, like all that, like JayZ. Like I remember walking down the hall and this guy in the hallway was playing Hard Knocks, like and it was like JayZ's like is that Hard Knocks Live? And like that was just like that's what got me into listening to JayZ.
That was one of my that was my first out. So one of my first. Because in 1998, I saw Rush Hour.
Yeah. I got the Rush Hour soundtrack.
Yep. And they had that song, Bounce With Me, Bounce With Me.
Yeah, yes.
And it had Ja Rule on it, right?
Yeah.
And so that song, I remember hearing that song, and then my stepbrother like took me to like a Sam Goody. Like I was just hanging out with him for the weekend or something. And you know how older brothers, they kind of want to just be like, well, hey, you want to get a CD or something?
Yeah.
Like, want to do something that you normally wouldn't do. So he takes me and he just like goes to like, he's like, you can just pick out any CD you want. So I picked out that album, which was it was JayZ Hard Knock Life Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Yeah, and it had Hard Knock Life, and
it had
it
Big
had
Pimpin' on it. Was it Big Pimpin'?
I don't know. Did it have Big Pimpin'? I do, dude. I definitely remember like riding around with my brother in the car too. vividly, and he's just bumping Big Pimpin'.
Oh my gosh, Big Pimpin' was such.
And I also remember not knowing the lyrics. Like, I didn't know what the lyrics meant when it was like, when he was like, it's Bun B, Pimp C, and Timothy. Got chicks in the back of the truck, backing it up. Jigga man, that's the stuff. And I'm just like, now I'm like, oh, Bun B, Pimp C. Oh, Timothy must be this other motherfucker that's on the track.
Right?
Okay. You know, and like, JayZ is just insane.
He's insane. Yeah, that.
I mean, as far as a businessman, like to be a billionaire rapper, nobody does that.
I went and saw Beyonce and JayZ at whatever, not Safeco, but whatever the baseball field is now, and I was like, I'm going to see Beyonce because I love Beyonce, but when JayZ got on stage, I was like, I knew all of it was all the hits.
So how long ago was this?
This is 2014.
Because my girlfriend went, and she was like, I went and saw JayZ and Beyonce, and when JayZ went up, he was just as good as Beyonce.
Yeah, he was just as good as Beyonce.
I was like, what?
And I left that concert, and I was like, I want to go see JayZ now. And then when JayZ came back, he went to Key Arena, and I went and saw him do Key Arena like in 2019, and oh my god, it was just, I got really drunk, and I just like basically fake rapped all of his songs.
I love that, dude. So rap has been a part of your life for a long time, but it was R&B first.
It was R&B first, but like then it was. I mean, I was in Crisscross. Like, I mean, I listened to it all. Like I remember living in Nashville, Tennessee, and watching MC Hammer do whatever his famous song is, and I was just like, I was always into R&B and hip hop at like 5 years old. Like that was who Brennon was.
See, my parents wouldn't put it around me that young.
Yeah, well, and I had MTV, and I just watched MTV all the time. And
I love that.
And I just really got into it. Like, and I always wish I could have. Like, even when I got into like junior high, I was like, I wish I could be a rapper, and like tried, but I just never had the vocabulary, and I just never was very good at it. And like,
it's crazy. I feel like it's really a kind of all these things you kind of come in, like even at comedy, all these things you kind of come into it naturally, and weed is the thing that brought rapping into my life. Like I don't think I never even thought about rapping. When I was listening to rap, it was more like when like we started smoking weed, and then the person I was smoking weed with was like, have you ever freestyled? Oh, this is where we put a beat on, and you just try to rhyme words. Oh, you try to find a rhythm and just rhyme words over it. And then that's when I just started relentlessly trying to and I'm rhyming, and I sucked so bad, but I just thought that it was so fun to freestyle.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what kept me going and like wanting to get involved with rapping.
Yeah.
And then like writing songs, that was another fascination. Like I would see Devin the Dude, who's my favorite rapper, and he would be just writing songs about like things that happened in his life, like regular stuff, like not big, big pimping on yachts and shit like that. But like he was just rapping about like, if you got a good girl and you go fuck around with some other girl trying to be greedy, then you're gonna fuck up with nobody. You're gonna end up with nobody, and that was called for show pussy. You fucking over your for show pussy, trying to get some more pussy, end up with no pussy. And so this is life lessons, and that's what inspired me to want to like have a deeper message in my music and to make songs.
Yeah,
so
that's cool. I mean, I love it. Like I think it's so cool. Like just to be able to like take that and like be able to do what you're doing now. Like it's just like I mean, I guess it's similar to. What I love podcasting, so like that's why I'm in podcasting. Like you're
exactly.
rap, that's cool. That's really cool.
What about the running, the Spokane Bee running? Tell me about that a little bit.
Spokane Bee running started out of in 2019. I sent an email to Bloomsday, and they were like looking for people to kind of like be voices for Bloomsday be, I guess, kind of like influencers in a sense. And I was like, I don't have a really good story, but I've been running for, at the time in 2019, I had been running for almost 8 months straight. I hadn't missed a day, and I love Spokane, and I had Beaucast, and I was like, I love Spokane. I want to be a Bloomsday ambassador, and they accepted my request to be a Bloomsday ambassador. And they're like, you need to have a social media account to kind of push it. And all I had was my personal account, which is my Digital Craftsman, and it doesn't really have much running on it. I was just like, I should make my own running account. And so I started Spokane Be Running to kind of like to kickstart my Bloomsday ambassadorship. And in 2020 happened. And I just I built this page from no fans to 700 fans in like 3 months, and which isn't a lot, but like it was all people that were actively engaged in my
and you're talking about something page, that's in Spokane,
and so exactly, and people just really loved it, and I started a website, a blog. I made a T-shirt. I used the T-shirt proceeds to all the proceeds that came into the shirts. Like I just put right back into community, buying gift cards to give away to my followers. And at the same time I was trying to let's talk about running around Spokane. Like it's just like, I love Spokane. I love running around Spokane. Like Spokane has a deep history of running here. Which we don't need to get much into, but like it just has it's such a deep community of running here, and I wanted to just really kind of feature it. I'll be honest, like the page itself in the last 6 months has been kind of dead, but like I love Spokane and I love running, and
Bloomsday's down until 2022.
Yeah,
but I mean, so you still run every day, or
I still run every day? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's is that something that you've just done since high school? Is that like a therapy to you, or
no? Well, I've ran in 2018. I weighed 230 pounds, and I was just like, I wasn't over. I mean, I was kind of overweight for who I
just out of shape.
I was out of shape. I'm out of shape. Yeah, so I was just I was 230 pounds. I was out of shape, and I was still running off and on, maybe 2-3 times a week, and I was like, I could still run, but I was fat. I was getting fat, and I didn't like my body, and I was so I decided to start running more, and
this is because you used to run.
I used to run all the time. I was a high school runner. The team that I was on in high school, we finished third and second in state the 2 years I was on the team for varsity. I ran a 4:44 mile in high school. I was pretty fast for a high school.
Well, and you wanted so you knew that you could kind of click back into it.
And I could always click back into running. Running was as easy to me. I started doing cross country because I was getting in shape for basketball. And then I stopped doing basketball because I was so good at cross country. And then later in life, I was just I can always run. I could always go run out. I could, even if I was 230 pounds, I could go run a 9-minute mile, easy. And 2018, I decided I want to lose weight, started running 100 miles a month. And then 2019 came around. I'm like, I'm going to run every day. And I have not missed a day of running since December 26, 2018.
You still haven't?
I still haven't missed a day.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna Forrest Gump that shit. Just gonna
keep on running. Yeah,
just keep on running.
Every day I run. I try to at least go on a 5-mile run every day. And
good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and 2019 I qualified for the Boston Marathon. 2020 happened. Didn't get to run in the Boston Marathon, but I qualified, so that was a big deal.
So were you gonna fly out there and do it?
I was gonna go do it. Had a plan. They had a trip in place, and was gonna do it again when they decided to reschedule it, and then they rescheduled it for 2021.
Is that the biggest marathon in?
I think it's probably the most prestigious. Like if you want to qualify, like, because you can only get into Boston if you qualify or if you raise money for charity to get into it. Like you can't get into it by any other way.
You can't just put an application in.
You have to either qualify for it or you got to raise enough money for it. Wow. And so so in that sense it's prestigious, but like I never really did it for the prestige. I just wanted to do it as as something to just achieve, you know, like I wanted to like, and
bucket list,
yeah, exactly. And I'll do it again. Like I'll qualify for it again, but and I'll actually go do Boston. I did a virtual Boston last year, which isn't the same as doing Boston, but I mean, it is what it is. Like the world's gonna throw things at you, and you just got to figure out how to deal with it. And like I could have been depressed about it, or I could have done, you know, but I still.
But you kept fucking podcasting, moving on to the other thing.
Kept running, yeah. You know, keep on doing the next thing. So like, and I work here at Speak and help produce a couple cool podcasts. Got another cool podcast that just a local ExZac has signed on to start a podcast with me.
Beautiful. And
I guess I can talk about it. Like Joel Ayayi, he the Frenchman. He signed on to do a podcast.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, dope.
So I'm going to start.
I love that guy.
I'm going to start producing a podcast with him. And we got other things in the works. I mean, I do a podcast with Mark Rippon, which is amazing. He's a Super Bowl MVP. Like, and he's just the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah,
like,
he seems like a really cool guy.
He's just like, he's so chill. Like, I want to say, if you ever want to get someone on your show, Mark Rippon will do your show.
He'll
like,
do my show?
He'll do your show just because he loves talking to people. Like he loves just like he loves conversating. He's just an awesome guy. And he would totally do your show. But yeah, like I love helping people podcast. Like that's what Speak's all about, is helping people speak and be heard. And when I remember when you walked into the studio, I don't even know how it even came up. Mm-hmm. I think you knew a guy. I think you knew someone who had previously worked at Speak, but like when you walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, this is ExZac Change, and like it's like happy to be here. And I'm like, I knew you because like I was gonna come on your show on April 1st, 2020, and then 2020 happened.
Which is sad. Soon we won't have to say that anymore. Soon we'll
hopefully,
just
God damn it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But it is crazy how it comes all full circle, and now you're finally on the show from April 1st, 2020. April Fools. How about June 11th, 2021? And I know you're not watching this on June 11th, but that's when this was recorded. You're welcome for the timeline.
That camera just died.
I noticed.
Sorry.
Oh, we're all good. We're all good, dude. Honestly, I want to thank you for just coming on and bullshitting with me and telling your story.
It's fun.
And you're a man of many podcasts and many talents. And you know, talking to people is one of those talents. Producing the podcast, connecting. Yeah. And I just really appreciate everything that you've done for me, man. Bringing me this dry fly wheat whiskey.
Well, you know, I will say you drink Jameson every week, and I was gonna bring you Jameson. I was just like, you know what, we're in Spokane. Like, even though I know you're gonna still drink your Jameson, like I was just like, I got to get you a whiskey that's.
And this is local?
From Spokane. This is local, yeah.
So this is okay. Well, I just need to get off the Jameson train.
Well, you know what? This is a little bit more. I mean, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more
prestigious.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Do you drink? I mean, like, I remember when
Jameson is just like I don't want to drink Jack Daniels. Jameson is just, you know, a nice price point at, like, you know.
You know what? You say that, but like I go buy a bottle of Jameson and it's still like it's too much for that bottle.
It is too much.
I'm a cheap alcohol drinker, so like I will literally.
So you'll go below this?
I mean, I'll go to Costco and I'll get like
Kirkland.
I
mean, Kirkland's good, right?
I mean, I make martinis with.
I feel like that's bougie because I don't even
vodka.
I don't even have a Costco membership. But I don't have kids. See, who goes to Costco when you live by yourself?
That's fair. I mean, for alcohol, I mean, I don't know.
For alcohol. I got the membership for the alcohol, baby. Yeah, you look at my cheese, my milk, singular. You see my alcohol bottles, stock the fuck up.
I mean, you can get like Diet Coke and flats there, you know, whatever.
You can.
Like,
You can get jeans.
it's cheaper.
They got
you get
quality.
You get some Kirkland signature
Some
jeans.
Kirkland signature jeans. Go good with my Kirkland shoe. My grandpa, I swear to God, would wear like some Kirkland shoes, bro. Some type of shoes that was probably made by some brand associated with Kirkland.
Oh.
I don't know, but anyways, dude, thank you for coming on.
I have to say, before I get off, my wife will kill me because I talked about Super Nanny's Brothers, talked about the perimeter. My wife will kill me if I don't mention The Kids Are Asleep.
Yes, I did want to talk about The Kids Are Asleep.
Which is the podcast I do with her. Because like it's a passion project. It's something I do with my wife not every week, but it's been off and on. But like we've had like 30 episodes in less than 6 months. And
so you guys are consistently doing it. Is it just every week?
Yeah, we try to do it every week. We set up in our living room or in our kitchen, sorry. And it's a way to disconnect with my wife. And this is what I'm saying about podcasting though. Is like if there's anything anyone wants to get from this show is like podcasting is so approachable. It's a way to connect to the people that you know. And I do podcasting with my wife as a way of like almost therapy. Like we get to hang out once a week and talk about the shit that we love and talk about our children, play some couple games, have a couple drinks, and we just do it. And like it isn't like what keeps us together, but it's like I look forward to it every week to like do a podcast with my wife.
I think you need things in a relationship that you're looking forward
100%.
to doing.
Yes.
Especially something that's together, that's happening all the time,
Creative,
like every week.
Yeah. And so The Kids Are Asleep is something I do with my wife, and I listen to the podcast. Like I don't listen to many of my podcasts. Like I don't ever listen to Super Nanny's Brothers. I'll edit it. I'll listen to it when I do that. I'll put it out, and I will just say goodbye. But like, I will listen to like the beginning of my podcast with my wife. I will be running because that's what I do when I run. I listen to podcasts. Is I will listen to it, and I'll just be cracking up because I think it's funny, and you should listen to it. It's fun. That's
what it is like dive in. You know, there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of music out there. You know, dive into something local. Like take an interest in something that's out of your
100%
out of what you normally do. So Super 90 Bros, check that out, dude, because I'm gonna check that out because the nostalgia, I need it.
Go backwards. Start from the last show we did to like backwards because like if you go early, it sounds like shit.
So you want to go back so you can really see it progress shittier and shittier.
Yeah, you want to go back from when it's good to when sometimes like we would get reviews on iTunes and people would be like, this is fine, this is a good show, but like your sound quality sucks. Like get some.
They're like, help us out, dude. I'm in my Ford Escape here, and the shit is just like piercing my ears.
But yeah, I mean, I will say, like, everything I do, I try to do it professionally.
Well, now Brennon produces podcasts, so
now I produce podcasts,
so he knows how to do it right.
Yeah, so.
Not only for himself, but for you too. So. Hit him up if you guys want to start a podcast here at Speak. We appreciate Speak and everything that you guys do, providing us with a space and a great atmosphere to create and have fucking honest, cool fucking conversations. Thank you for coming on, dude, from behind the scenes and setting everything up to being right here on my podcast, dude. I'm really excited to see what happens next. So
yeah, I'm excited too. I want to ask you, who's your hit list? Who's who do you want to have on the show? Like, put it out in the ether.
There's a few people. I'm gonna throw a few people out there.
Yeah.
All right. I just threw a message out to TS the Solution.
Ooh.
Really want TS the Solution on.
Yeah.
Christopher Sean Gray. I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh, I know Chris Gray, yeah.
Dude, I want to have him on the podcast.
I'll get Chris on the show for you.
Yeah.
You want me to text him right now?
Yes, please. All right. Throw it into the ether. Yes, I do want Chris on the podcast.
Perfect.
Because he's done so much cool shit.
He's amazing. He's done some photography for Mark and Adam. He's great.
Okay, dude, dope, dude. I know he's done some shit for like great PNW,
Yeah.
and shit like that too. Which is they're also, and I'd love to have I think it's Joel or
Barber. Oh my God.
That's who I
You gotta have Joel Barber.
I gotta
he's done every podcast, and I think he's done a lot of Spokane podcasts. He was on Spokecast. He was on my podcast, Speak Spokane. But I went to high school with Joel, and I'll get Joel on your podcast too.
Dude, I'd love that. I'd love to have Carrie on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
Dude, I would love to have Carrie on the podcast.
oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, dude, there's honestly, that's the cool thing about it is that we're 60 some episodes in,
Yeah.
and like still there is like an unlimited.
You have
amount
an
of people.
unlimited amount of people to have on your show. Yeah, for sure.
And we're just getting better and better, man.
You're getting so much better. So I love what you're doing, and I will continue to be behind the boards, and I'm happy that you asked me to. I think I texted you 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I'd just be happy to be on your podcast, and I'm so happy to be here right now.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right.
And so just let everybody know, I guess, where they can find your podcast on Instagram and Spotify and all that stuff.
Super 90s Brothers is the big one. The Perimeter with Adam Morrison, the biggest one. The Kids Are Asleep. And then myself, you can find me, Digital Craftsman, on Instagram. And in my link tree, you can find all the podcasts that I produce. Maybe I'll throw Happy to Be There in there too.
Please do. All right, guys. Hey, thank you for coming to our space here and sharing our energy. We appreciate you, Brennan. I know you have very important things to do, so we're gonna get the fuck out of here.
All right.
Happy to be here, guys. Love you. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, I'm just happy to be here. Yo, I'm just happy to be here. 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 Yo, I'm just happy to be here.
Fucking over you for show pussy, trying to get some more pussy, end up with no pussy.
Tall guys just don't get enough love.
Help us out, dude. I'm an idiot. Like, I don't know shit. I
never
wish I
had
could
either.
get that.